gonna die. Going too fast. I'm taking 3.
I'm going for the St. Louis now.
Oh no!
Son of a bitch.
You get your 2?
Yeah. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we are going to be taking a look at some of the German ships that we might see in World of Warships with the upcoming launch of the German tech tree. Some of the ships have already been revealed. In this video I'm not going to be talking about the ships that they've already revealed, and you know, the Wargaming already has stats up and for, like the Bismarck, Tirpitz, Dresden. I won't be taking a look at that. Instead I wanted to take a look at other ships that might be populating the German tech tree, maybe holding some places there. So the first ship I want to look at is, you know, I asked myself what ship would come after Bismarck or Tirpitz. Wargaming has shared that those would be at Tier 8, so I was thinking, you know, what's going to be at Tier 9 or maybe Tier 10. So did some research, and what I'm going to cover in this section here is I'm going to be taking a look at the H-class battleship. Also, in some circles, it's known as a super battleship, depending on which variant of the H-class we're talking about. Now, this was a class of battleships that was designed in late 1930s and into the early 1940s. And the reason why these ships were designed, now this, just to make sure we're clear, you know, this is outside of the plans for the Bismarck class. These are classes that are going to come after the Bismarck, right? Now, the reason why Germany felt that it needed bigger and better battleships was obviously because it wanted to rival other nations on the seas. So they had a plan. It was called Plan Z. Now, Plan Z was the planned re-equipment and expansion of the Kriegsmarine. This was ordered in 1939 by Adolf Hitler. His plan was to challenge the navies of the world with his massive ships, most notably the Royal Navy. The plan was intended to be completed by 1948. The plan called for a high seas fleet consisting of 10 battleships, 4 carriers, and many long-range cruisers and escorts that would protect the high seas fleet but also attack British shipping. When World War II broke out in September 1939, resources were taken away from the Kriegsmarine, and Plan Z never saw completion. Plan Z still did have an impact overall on the war, however, just not what Germany had intended. During the pre-war years, Plan Z was in full swing. Germany was busy building surface fleets, but not U-boats. So this meant that at the beginning of World War II, Germany only had a few dozen U-boats to put out to sea, of the dozen that it could actually go out to sea anyway. Now, the H-class battleship did have several variations. Each variation was intended to be more powerful than the next. It started with H-39. There were 6 ships, basically bigger Bismarcks, and had 16-inch guns. There was H-41, which was an improved H-39 with larger guns at 17 inches. H-42 and H-43, again an increase to the main battery at 19 inches. And the final variant was H-44. This was the largest of all, and it was intended to have 20-inch guns. The variants ranged from size, so it's starting at about 277 meters long and a displacement of about 56,000 tons, which the H-39 had, all the way up to 345 meters long, displacing 131,000 tons. This was the H-44, a monster. All ships would be able to do over 30 knots. Historically, initial orders were approved by Adolf Hitler on January 18, 1939. Only 4 shipyards in Germany, though, could actually handle building such a large ship. Only 4 shipyards had the slip big enough for these ships. And this was just the H-39 that they were looking at building first. not even like looking at the H-44. So orders for the first 2 ships, first ship was codenamed H and the second ship was J. So the orders for these first 2 ships, H and J, were received on April 14, 1939 by Brum and Voss Dockyard in Hamburg. On May 25, 1939, 4 more orders were received, and they were all dubbed K, L, M, and N. Keels for H and J were laid down on January 15th and September 1st, 1939 respectively. When war did break out, construction was stopped on H&J, and the remaining ships, K, L, M, and N, were never started, as the Germans didn't think the ships would be ready in time to make a meaningful difference in the current war. What work had been completed on H&J wasn't just broken down and sold for scrap. What items had been machined but never assembled were kept handy for when the Germans won the war. Or so they thought. Now, just to take a look at H-39 specifically, what its armament looks like, the speed, anti-aircraft ability, the belt line. The H-39 would have been powered by 12-man, 9-cylinder, double-acting 2-stroke diesel engines. This would give it a speed of about 30 knots and a range of about 7,000 nautical miles when cruising at 19 knots. Guns were 8 16-inch in 4 double turrets. The max range was 36,000 meters and a rate of fire of about 2 rounds per minute per gun, or so it was thought. The secondary armament consisted of 12 5.9-inch L-55 guns mounted on 6 twin turrets. The ship was also intended to have 6 21-inch torpedo tubes mounted below the waterline. Yes, so they could fire torpedoes below the waterline. How sneaky is that? In terms of anti-aircraft armament, H-39 had 16 dual-mounted 4.1-inch flak guns, 16 1.5-inch L-83, and 24 0.79-inch L-38 guns mounted in quad arrangements. The overall steel belt of the ship ranged anywhere from about 300 millimeters thick to 145 millimeters thick. So I think we will see the H-class in World of Ships. What variant exactly we see, I don't know. I'm fingers are crossed that the H-44 is going to be there. 131,000 tons. Like, that ship is a super battleship. You know, it's right on par with the Yamato and the Montana. This will be Germany's answer to it. 20-inch guns. We'll see if Wargaming actually puts those in there, but that's going to be amazing. Anyway, that's the first ship that we're gonna look at. The German battleship, the H-class, ranging from H-39 to H-44. So the next ship we're going to take a look at is the Graf Zeppelin. This was Germany's aircraft carrier. The Graf Zeppelin class carriers consisted of 4 ships, which were to be part of Plan Z, which I did mention earlier when discussing the H-model battleships. Now, the Graf Zeppelin was planned after German naval architects closely studied Japanese designs of their aircraft carriers. Specifically, they looked at the aircraft carrier Akagi. The Germans did, however, lack experience building such vessels, and as a result, the Graf Zeppelin included features that were never implemented by the Japanese or American carrier counterparts. For example, the German carriers would have cruiser-type guns, so cruiser-caliber guns, which would be able to raid commerce shipping and defend against British cruisers, while the American and Japanese carriers were designed with task force defense in mind, meaning that carriers would have supporting ships to keep the carrier itself from risk of sinking or damage. Now, political infighting, obviously, between the Kriegsmarine and the Luftwaffe, Hitler's waning interest of the German surface fleet, and disputes within the Kriegsmarine itself all led to long delays on the Graf Zeppelin. In 1939, Grand Admiral Erich Raeder cancelled 2 of the 4 carriers due to manpower and resource shortages, while the Luftwaffe prepared pilots for carrier service. With World War II lumbering on, German naval priorities, however, were changing. More focus was being placed on U-boats. One carrier not completed, just a hull, was broken up on the slipway for much needed scrap. The other, christened Graf Zeppelin, was continued until 1940. With glaring examples of just how useful carriers are, such as the Battle of Taranto, the hunt for the Bismarck, and the attack on Pearl Harbor, Hitler gave the order to resume work on the Graf Zeppelin. Progress was then again delayed as the need for more modern, carrier-specific planes grew. There was also a call to modernize the Graf Zeppelin, since Germany was now at war. The ultimate disapproval of the service fleet by Hitler did leave did lead to the ship never being completed. Rather than risk the ship being captured by the Red Army, the Germans scuttled the Graf Zeppelin to prevent the Red Army from capturing it. The Red Army then moved in, raised the ship, and eventually in 1947 used the Graf Zeppelin as target practice and sunk it. The keel of the Graf Zeppelin was laid down December 28, 1936, on the same slip actually that saw the Gneisenau built. The ship itself was built by Deutsche Werke Shipyard in Kiel, and it was launched December 8, 1938. The Graf Zeppelin did have a steel flight deck. It was overlaid with wood planking. It was 242 meters long and 30 meters wide at its widest point, and had two hangars, an upper hangar and a lower hangar. The upper hangar was about 185 meters long, and it would hold 13 Ju-87C dive bombers and 10 Bf-109Ts. The lower hangar was 172 meters long, and it held 18 Fi-167 fighter aircraft. The aircraft layout, however, did change. It changed to 30 Bf-109Ts and 12 Ju-87 dive bombers. This was because Germany wanted to align their naval doctrines with those of America and Japan. America and Japan had evolved beyond a naval doctrine for carriers using the carrier primarily as a scout. They were now using their carriers in an offensive manner, and that's how they structured their fleet defense, and is how they structured the use of the carrier for offensive maneuvers. And this is what Germany wanted to do as well. So with the introduction of these new planes, it was thought that this would put the Graf Zeppelin on the same plane as its American and Japanese counterparts. Now, just where the Graf Zeppelin is going to appear on the tech tree for the Germans, like, you know, what tier it's going to hold, I'm not 100% sure. Given the time that the Graf Zeppelin was constructed in 1936, originally laid down, I would put it potentially around tier 7 or tier 8. My only basis for this is the fact that the German naval architects were in Japan looking at the carrier Akagi. The Akagi is, I believe, based off of the Amagi hull, and it holds, it's the same hull as the Shuikaku, so that's at tier 8. Obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's where I would see it, maybe 6, 7, or 8, in one of those three tiers for the Graf Zeppelin. In terms of what we could expect for other carriers within the German tech tree, I'm not really that sure. Most of my research within the German carrier development, I guess, we can call it, there was a lot of mention about Graf Zeppelin, just over and over. You had to search around to find other innovative German aircraft naval ideas. For example, Germany was in the process of retrofitting several different cruisers to carry sea aircraft. The idea behind these vessels was that the front part of the ship would remain unchanged, more or less. It would still consist of your main armament, your bow, the bridge, all that lovely stuff there at the front. The rear was where everything was changing. Main armament was taken off, a flat deck was fitted, and in this way, the Germans were able to launch seaplanes from their cruisers, essentially, making them small aircraft carriers. I don't want to say making them light aircraft carriers, because there's a whole CVL class, and these ships wouldn't even fall into it. I wouldn't know what to classify the ships as. A cruiser aircraft majigger? Maybe, I don't know. But I think it'll be really interesting to see what Wargaming does with the remainder tiers of the tech tree, to see what ships they're going to put in there. I imagine we're going to see a number of paper ships, maybe the paper ships leading up to the Graf Zeppelin, for example. But obviously, I don't know that for sure. So we've come to the end of my my first German hype video, I guess you can call it. I reviewed a potential battleship and an aircraft carrier. I'm fairly confident, at least, Graf Zeppelin will be there. and a variant of the H class should be there as well. In my next German video, I do have more ships that I want to go over with you guys, as well as potential ships that'll be in the German tech tree. So I also want to take a look at the Hipper class. This was a cruiser, a heavy cruiser. I want to take a look at the Scharnhorst class. Now the Scharnhorst class, it can go either way, whether it's battle cruiser or battleship. You know, stay tuned for that video and we'll try and figure that one out. And then finally, destroyer. I want to look at the Z-23. This was also known as the Narvik class destroyer. So that'll come up in the next video. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and you know, I thank you so much for your time, and as always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.